I think it's pretty obvious by now that I like a lot of media. The stories behind it, or the stories that they tell, we're able to see and create all these different worlds and stories, all with the magic of film. A couple days ago, I turned 22, and I think to celebrate that, I'm gonna go over my top 20 favorite movies ever. Sadly, due to the fact that a lot of these are what I like to call mega copyrighted, being that if you so much as put a single frame of them on the internet, the copyright police are gonna be all up at your doorstep. I'm gonna be using pictures for these. I hope you guys don't mind. Why am I waiting? It's not like you guys are gonna reply. Oh, never mind. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, because these are my top 20 favorite movies of all time. Number 20 is the Threemigos. This one my dad introduced me to when our local Blockbuster was closing down. See, we had a Blockbuster right by our house, so he decided to go in there and see what movies they had for sale as they were selling off all their rental copies. And we found the Threemigos. I, being a 5th grader at the time, didn't know anything about it, but he showed it to me and I loved it. Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Chevy Chase are on fire all throughout this film, but it's more than just them, although they are a very big part of it. They have a lot of chemistry on screen, and each one of them has a very likable screen presence. Additionally, it does the whole misunderstanding plotline, but doesn't do it too extensively. What do I mean by this? Well, they have it go on for the first act, a little bit into the second act, then they realize that's all we can get out of this, so now let's shift a little bit. Even though it changes the focus of the story a little bit, it keeps the same tone, characters, and style of humor, all of which are phenomenally successful. Number 19, Meet the Feebles. I discussed this film last week actually, so I'll keep it brief. I love things like Drawn Together and South Park, so this film is right up my alley. Peter Jackson used to be a very different style of director, and while I'm not going to say I prefer it to what he is now, it definitely does have its charm. They don't make movies like this anymore, let me tell you that. The film's got a lot of toe-tapping songs, and some surprisingly deep themes when you look into it. For more information, look at last week's review. Number 18, Ratatouille. I saw this film again not too long ago after not seeing it for, 6 years, 7 years maybe? And I was blown away. I'd heard so many people talk about it, and in fact, on the day I'm recording this, Schaeferless Productions, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, has announced that he's going to be coming out with an hour-long review of the film. So yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to talk about this one as extensively as he is, but I'm going to say everything that people say about Ratatouille is true. The art style is beautiful, the characters are wonderful, the themes are fantastic. Really, Pixar should start making movies like this again. Movies that aren't just sequel baiting or nostalgia grabbing. Movies that are surprisingly thought-provoking, even though, at first glance, it seems like a cute little story about a mouse who wants to be a chef. Like Meet the Feebles, Ratatouille is way more than meets the eye. Although, unlike Meet the Feebles, you don't have to look super into it to find all the complexities. They're right there, and they're fantastic. Number 17, Jules and Jim, or in English, Jules and Jim. This is a French film in case you can't tell. Yes, I have a foreign film on this list. Sue me. It's a very simplistic production with a minimalist approach to a lot of its storytelling, but it pulls it all off. This is a very gripping tale about two men that just so happen to fall in love with this one girl, but little do they know, she's an absolute horrible monster. I don't mean monster as in she's 50 feet tall, raw, burn down the village. No, she's the worst kind of person ever. Someone who's all nice on the surface, but is actually only there to ruin the lives of the people she encounters. We get to see these two guys go through life together, their ups and their downs, and how this woman is influencing their friendship. It's told in the style of a news broadcast in a sense. It's a little hard to explain, but if you have HBO Max, it's on there. So, what are you doing? Go check it out. Add it to your list to see a really thought-provoking film that tells a very simplistic, yet highly complex story. Number 16, Ed Wood. I can't tell if this film wants to be a drama or a comedy or a dramedy, but either way, I eat it all up. The story of Tommy Wiseau before there was a Tommy Wiseau. Ed Wood used to be known as the worst filmmaker ever before Mr. Wiseau came along, and honestly, I'd actually say he's worse because he didn't make one bad movie. Everything he made was terrible. But you gotta admire his ambition. Johnny Depp does a fantastic job playing Ed Wood. While he doesn't necessarily sound like the real guy, he certainly looks and acts like him. Martin Landau also does a very good Bela Lugosi. All you have to know though, is that in real life, Lugosi didn't swear like a sailor like he does here. I think they really did that just to get the R rating, but oh well. That's one little thing I can knock against the film, but it does everything else really well. It tells the true life of Ed Wood. It doesn't sugarcoat anything. It tells all the terrible things that he had to do to get his movies made, or the bad ideas that were put into it, all while making Ed still seem like a wide-eyed, young, innocent man. Even though sure some of the things he does, like promoting favoritism in his movies by giving bigger parts to people who give him money, we still like him because he's not trying to hurt anybody. All he wants to do is tell a story, and I think any aspiring filmmaker can relate to that. Only we hope that ours aren't gonna be as terrible as his. Number 15, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. It takes everything that made the first Terminator great and blows it up to an unbelievable level. Even though Arnold plays the same monster that he played in the first film, he's a great action hero. And the villain is fantastic. You can't stop him. If you thought that the last Terminator was indestructible, this one, if you don't have Arnold on your side, you're not gonna win. And even then, they barely managed to survive. Throw in some groundbreaking special effects, some awesome action scenes that even top the first one, and some deep character development, and you've got what should have been the end to the Terminator franchise, let's be real. And also, one of the best sequels of all time. Number 14, Rear Window. We all love Hitchcock, don't we? The master of suspense, and Rear Window does this perfectly. That and Jimmy Stewart is a fantastic actor. I don't care what Space Ghost says, this film was not made to sell toys. The way this story is framed and the way it's shot always keeps you on edge throughout the entire thing. The fact that our lead is also in a wheelchair and basically immobilized also boosts the sense of vulnerability. We feel like we're right there with this guy. What's going on? Who did this? What even is this that they're doing? Let me tell you, it's a classic for a reason. Number 13, The Truman Show. Jim Carrey should have been doing a lot more drama movies in my opinion. He sells the character here. While he still has his traditional I'm Jim Carrey, look at me, I'm Rubberface shtick going on, he still feels like Truman. He doesn't feel like Jim Carrey playing somebody. As much as I love films like, say, Bruce Almighty or The Mask, every single time I watch those, I feel like this is Jim Carrey playing somebody. This time, though, he completely immerses himself into the character, and it even makes you think, what if I was in Truman's situation? What if my whole world was some kind of crazy reality show? But apparently, that's actually happened because this has caused a mental disorder known as the Truman Show syndrome. Look it up, it's almost as fascinating as the movie itself. Number 12, Uncle Buck. I think this one's my dad's favorite film because he quotes it every single chance he can get. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't do that as well. I've said it before and I'll say it again, John Candy is my favorite actor of all time. We lost him way too soon. Even in movies I don't really like, I like him in them. Luckily, this movie, though has John Candy as the lead, he's not the only thing to like about it. Everyone's likable in this film, except the villain, but you know, that's to be expected. As per typical John Hughes fashion, the dialogue is fast, it's snappy, and it's all great. The storytelling, the humor, and John Candy, all of them are cranked up to 11 here, and it tells such a wide variety of jokes. Some dark, some light, some extremely obvious, and some super subtle. Uncle Buck does it all. Number 11, Addams Family Values. This is one of those movies that every time I watch it, I like it more and more. You'd never think that something based off the Addams Family would be this funny. Don't get me wrong, I love Addams Family. It's my favorite black and white series. But the movies take what the TV show couldn't do because, well, it was on in the 60s, and completely goes overboard with it and loves it. I like the first one and all, but this one really gets its chance to shine. It's surprisingly adult. Though seeming like a family film, there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of stuff that kids will not get here. Especially with a lot of things that come out of Uncle Fester's mouth. The things he says to Debbie would probably scare any girl away if they didn't have ulterior motives. What really helps sell this is the actors. Even ones with obvious recognizable voices like Christopher Lloyd completely disappear into the roles. I don't see Christopher Lloyd here, I see Uncle Fester. And in a film like Addams Family, with how demented and disturbed it's supposed to look, let me tell you, that makes all the difference. Number 10, Bowfinger. This film, at first, seems like it's gonna be a whole bunch of cliches. Steve Martin plays a low-ranked movie producer who wants to make this big film starring this big celebrity. Only problem is, the celebrity turned him down. So, he and his little crew are gonna film the movie, all while the star doesn't know he's in it. You think this is gonna be a lie revealed, love triangle, this and that kind of movie, but no! It subverts every single one of those cliches and turns them into a giant joke. This is proof that you don't need cliches to tell the story. Liar revealed, oh you cheated on me, well we're gonna break up, no we're back together, we don't need that. Bowfinger likes to subvert you. It sets up all those typical Hollywood movie cliches and it completely destroys them right before your very eyes, and it's glorious. Every single joke in this movie is laugh out loud hilarious. The whole running across the freeway, purse ninjas, the fact the name of the movie they're making is called Chubby Rain. It's little things like that that make this film great. I saw this one for the first time not too long ago, and I immediately knew it had to go on this list. And, hey, here it is! Number 9, The Prince of Egypt. How is it that a secular company, made primarily not of Christians, is able to make the best Christian movie ever? How? Prince of Egypt does a lot right. Amazing animation, fantastic songs, and above all, almost perfect accuracy to the source material. They change a couple small things and add a couple small details, but really, the main story is entirely intact. A lot more than say something VeggieTales has done. The best way I can describe Prince of Egypt is beautiful. That's everything this film is. From the first frame to the last frame, Prince of Egypt is a real visual spectacle. And it has the story to go right along with it. Makes me sad that DreamWorks isn't doing 2D animation anymore and they're doing things like, say, Trolls and constantly teasing a Shrek 5, but that's a story for another day. Number 8, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Simply put, this is everything Uncle Buck does right, but more of it. Now we don't just have John Candy, we also have Steve Martin, who surprisingly matches his energy quite well. The characters of Neil Page and Del Griffith were tailor-made for each other. I mean, obviously, what do you expect? They're made in the same movie. These guys kind of give me a Ren and Stimpy vibe, albeit without the gross out and deranged animation. Neil Page is a grump who hates everything and gets angry super easily, while Del Griffith is a big, lovable loser who always seems to kinda know what he's doing. I'm glad that my family has made it a choice to watch this film every single Thanksgiving, because every single time I've seen it, and what, we're at 15 now? I haven't been bored once. There's so much craziness going on in this film that you could watch it again and again and again and again and again and not get tired of it. But let's be real, you've probably seen this, so you probably know what I'm talking about. Number 7, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yes, this film's on here and Willy Wonka is not. I'll get into that another day down the road. Not too far away, actually, but in short, this is one of the best, most loyal adaptations of anything I've seen ever. It's almost book to screen. It takes the warped and disturbed but also somewhat charming and happy world that Roald Dahl has created and brings it to life, with special effects that for the most part still hold up well. The characters are fun, the songs are memorable, and it's just a great ride. That's all I'm gonna say for now, but again, stay tuned for more down the road. Number 6, Little Shop of Horrors. This one's already a bit of a cult classic, let's be real, so again, I'm gonna keep this one brief. Great songs, fantastic puppetry, spot on casting choice. The only thing I don't like about this film technically isn't really a part of the film. It's the theatrical ending where they actually win in the end. I prefer to watch the DVD version where they don't win and it keeps the musical's ending intact. But that's just me. One of my favorite musicals brought into one of my favorite movies. Seems fitting. Number 5, UHF. For the longest time this was my number 1, and now it's number 5 in case you can't tell. Which I hope you can because I clearly said it was number 5. Anyways, this film is basically, well, It's UHF. That's all I can say about it. Weird Al made this, and just by hearing that, I think you can tell everything about this film. It doesn't try to take itself seriously in the slightest. It barely even attempts with the story. All it is non-stop insanity that only Weird Al could create. During the production of this film, he was given almost entire creative control over the project, and it shows. His fingerprints are all over this thing, and I can't think of a joke that doesn't work. It's not for critics. That's why it didn't get a lot of good reviews at the time. But now, I'm glad that it found its audience because it absolutely deserves it. It does a lot with so little, and only Weird Al could make a film like this. Number 4, 1 Hour Photo. How this is not up there with Robin Williams' best performances like Good Will Hunting or Dead Poets Society, I'll never know. This is such a deep, deep film. It's about a lonely man who develops photos for a living. While most people would see this as a bad, dead-end job, he views it as an art form, as pictures are a way to illustrate someone's life that may or may not even exist, because we only take pictures of the things we want to remember, so we can kind of control our own history in a sense. He finds this one family and becomes super attached to them because they're the family he's always wanted but never had. He becomes obsessed, overly attached, dreaming of becoming part of this family, even though deep down he knows he really can't. It's dark, it's twisted, it's disturbing, and really, it's a character study film. I love those. A good chunk of this film doesn't really have proper dialogue. It's all the character, Cy Parrish, monologuing, explaining his thought process, and it's a weird, disturbed thought process, but in a way, it also kinda makes sense. And he ends up doing some nasty, nasty things, but you can kinda understand he's a very broken individual who has nobody to be there for him. You understand what he's going through. You don't justify his actions, of course, but you understand why he's doing them. This is one that I wish got a lot more attention. I know Robin Williams had a blast with doing this because, well, it's Robin Williams. You can always tell which performances he likes and which ones he doesn't necessarily care for. This one, he absolutely immersed himself into the role. I don't see Robin Williams. I see a sad, sad man who really needs to get a break in life, but kind of through his own actions, isn't giving himself one. Number 3, Back to the Future. We all love this film. You gotta know why it's on here. I could watch this again and again and again and not get sick of it. The story, the characters, the visual effects, the soundtrack, everything about this is jam-packed, airtight, works brilliantly. No wonder it's as popular as it is, right? Number 2, Coraline. Such an imaginative film with a lot on the surface level, but a lot to look into. So much of this film are little subtle details that, once you've watched it a couple times, you tend to pick up on, and it makes you look at the story a little bit differently. That's why there's so many theories out there about Coraline. All these little things could be different interpretations, and we all have our different interpretations, don't we? It's also not afraid to be scary, and I love that. Sure, it's technically speaking a family movie, but it sure doesn't act like it. It starts off all kind and friendly, while a little bit eerie and off-putting, but over time slowly devolves into utter madness. The characters are great, and the stop-motion animation is spectacular. Truly a must-watch if for some reason you haven't seen it already. And now we get to number 1. Yes, what could be better than all these films? Well, I'll tell ya. It's Psycho, starring Vince Vaughn. No, it's not that. It's the actual Psycho, the original one made by Alfred Hitchcock. We don't talk about the Vince Vaughn version. We don't. Just like how we don't talk about the sequels. Last year, for my 21st birthday, my dad and I went to the Austin, Texas Historic Movie Theater. I don't know if that's its actual name, I seriously doubt it, but that's not important. They had a screening of Psycho, and we went to go see it. For some reason, my dad was able to avoid all the spoilers up until now, so he had no idea what was going on throughout this entire story. And watching it through his eyes kinda made me get a new appreciation for it, as when I was sitting with him, and with some people who surprisingly were in the same boat, I was able to experience it as if I didn't know what was coming. And that's when I finally got it. That's when I finally clicked with this movie. Because beforehand, I saw it and I thought it was good, but that's because everyone knows how this film goes. So I got spoiled. But then I was finally able to watch it the way it was supposed to be. And oh man, your heart races every second of this thing. The suspense is off the charts. The character of Norman Bates is unbelievably fascinating. No wonder there's so much other material besides this film, because this character, oh man. If you thought Cy Parrish from 1 Hour Photo was a mess, this guy's a real, well, psycho. Everything Hitchcock has done well in any of his films before is here, front and center. This is what I can clearly define as a perfect film. It does every single thing, not just well, but abundantly well. I feel for all the characters here, and I want to see them all make it out alive, but also, I kinda don't, because they're not all the best people, and hey, if they all lived, it'd be kind of a weird movie. The way it lingers on a shot, the way that it can go dead silent right before the big action kicks in. I could go on and on and on gushing about this film, but all you need to know is that Psycho is my favorite movie of all time. Well folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you think of my list? What are some of your favorite movies? Comment below and let me know, because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. We'll be back next week with another Patreon raffle review. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.